goes back to my biography at the beginning when I was telling you a little bit about me. I had had a passion for politics for a very long time. Ever since I was young, I think you could attest to that. Yeah, being very young, I seemed to have this political bug, and I really wanted to serve my community. And there was a point in time when you realize that you look around and you think to yourself, I could do as good of job as those people who are in Denver or even Washington. And that's when you say it's time to step up to the plate and actually run for office. And that's how I got into it. The story of actually how I decided when to run is really fascinating, and I'll tell you that real quick. So in 2018, or I should say 2017, December 2017, I was contemplating whether to run for Delta County Commissioner or for the State House of Representatives. And this particular seat was held by Eulin Willett. And he's a good friend of mine. He's an attorney here in Grand Junction. And I wasn't real sure which direction, so I kept praying. And I said, God, give me a direction, a sign as to if I should go in the direction of county commissioner or state representative. Both are vastly different roles. A county commissioner is an executive at the local level, and an executive means that you run the operations of the county, and it's 3 people who do that. A legislator, on the other hand, you're part of a body with 65 members, and in a branch of government that has 100 members, and that your influence might be over the entire state, but it's only 1/100th. Whereas in a county, your influence would be 1 out of 3. And I attended the Delta County Commissioners meeting, the first meeting they had in January of 2018. And there was a man there who was also a longtime Deltan, and he's in his early 60s. He looks over at me, and he kind of winks, and I'm like, oh, what's up? And he announces publicly in front of the meeting that he's running for Delta County Commissioner. So I think to myself, oh man, I'm going to have a primary. And primaries for county commissioner in a strongly held Republican county are usually bitter, they're hard fought, and very expensive. No more than about 30 seconds later, my phone rang. I look down, I see it's Eulin Willett, our state representative back then. I step out into the hallway and answer the phone, and Eulin says to me, Matt, before this phone call is over, I need an answer. Yes or no, are you running for my legislative seat? And I thought to myself, wow, I've often prayed, but never had such a crystal clear example of God shining a direction. But for me, that was that time, because one door had just been closed. The path to Delta County Commissioner I wouldn't say closed, but pretty much closed. It would have been very difficult for me. But the path to the state legislator was wide open. And it was that moment of clarity. And I said, yes, I'm going to run for the state legislature. And then it was a hard-fought battle, but I was elected and then recently reelected. So getting into public office, you want to make sure that you develop the right background. So I was in Pathfinders and Adventures as well, just like you. So it's developing that background of community service and public service. But it's also understanding the importance of education. I mean, could you elect someone who was a mechanic, they didn't go to college? Yeah, absolutely. Of course, nowadays, to be a mechanic, you definitely have to go to college. But I believe that the people of House District 54 said, we really want to send one of our best and our brightest and our most well-educated to Denver, because if we're going to be in an uphill battle, meaning we're predominantly conservatives in Western Colorado, but on top of that, we're also in a minority because Western Colorado doesn't have the population as the Front Range has. We only have about 10% of the population over here compared to the Denver-Boulder area. So in order to really advocate, and advocate is a big word, meaning to to fight for or to argue for the Western Slope, you really want to send someone who has the background and has the experience and who has done a lot of grunt work to be able to get to that point in time. And that's why when this last election occurred, I believe when you look at the numbers, you see that 75% of the vote is what I received, which was about 10% more than anyone else running for office at the state level.